The fact that it is harder right now for small business people to start and grow their businesses, too much regulation. Maybe they don't like the fact that we only have 1.2% growth with the financial crisis well in the rearview mirror. So as Hillary Clinton stumps in the Keystone State, Republican nominee Donald Trump is spending his time in Wisconsin, a state currently grappling with riots raging on in Milwaukee. Let's bring in Greta Van Susteren, host of On the Record on the Fox News Channel. Greta, now we're talking about the economy on one hand, security and safety on another, and at a time, certainly in Wisconsin, when you have riots after a police officer shot an armed suspect. The guy was armed. You have riots because of that. This is clearly an issue where Donald Trump, trying to position himself as the law and order candidate, should certainly find some traction. What do you think?
Well, perhaps, except a Marquette Law School poll just came out, and obviously a poll that has a time lag on it, probably preceded some of this rioting over the weekend. But in that poll, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is 15 points ahead of Donald Trump. He's got an uphill battle right now in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's always been a closely divided state. They have a Republican governor, but they've also got the down ballot race, which involves former Senator Russ Feingold, who's extremely popular in Wisconsin. He got beaten by incumbent Senator Ron Johnson, who has lost a lot of his popularity since he's been in office as U.S. Senator. So people are rallying around Senator Russ Feingold. But even more importantly, according to the poll, is that 70% of the independents don't have a favorable view of Donald Trump. Now, can he turn all this around? Can he perhaps use some of the unrest in Milwaukee to say that he's law and order? Yes, of course. But remember, across the whole nation, we've got this thing called early voting. And it isn't November 8th that's his deadline, but in many states there's early voting, so he has to get out and get his message much sooner. I will say this, though. Tonight at 10 p.m., on Sean Hannity on the Fox News Channel, Donald Trump will be having a town hall moderated by Sean Hannity, and that is in Milwaukee. So it's an interesting forum, chosen, by the way, before all this unrest.
That's an interesting point, because you look at what's happening in Milwaukee, but these polls tend to have a lag, and sometimes that works in candidates' favor, sometimes it works against. Look, Donald Trump is...
Remember, though, Liz, he didn't win the primary in Wisconsin. It was Ted Cruz who won it, because what happens is a lot of the talk show hosts, the very conservative talk show hosts, they all aligned with Ted Cruz, and they trashed Donald Trump, so he's got an uphill battle there.
Well, and of course, Ted Cruz is in the rearview mirror. We know that he did not stand a chance. Look, Trump has solidified his base. They're not going anywhere. They are solidly for him. We all know, and it's Captain Obvious to say he needs to expand beyond that, but in just a couple of minutes, we're going to be speaking, Greta, to the CEO of MGM Resorts International. Now, this guy is a lifelong Republican. He, not only is not voting for Donald Trump, he's gone out and written a USA Today op-ed saying why he's voting for Hillary Clinton, and, quote, proudly, and he says, you know, one candidate works to create stability and certainty. The other operates erratically and unpredictably. That's why in November I will proudly pull the lever. Each time it's a gut-wrenching decision, but I will proudly pull the lever. So he says, you know, I'm making my first ever public endorsement of that presidential candidate. He's never done that before. And that's a business CEO who would, you think, benefit from Donald Trump's economic policy, which is to cut corporate tax rates.
Well, he obviously has a lot of enthusiasm to vote for Secretary Clinton by reading that, what you just read. However, there are a lot of people who will be holding their nose voting for either Trump or Hillary Clinton come November. And one thing that always does concern me, though, is as Donald Trump has become, as he's gotten more criticism and some of the things he said that people find offensive, is I'm not so sure that people, when they get a pollster calling saying, will you vote for Donald Trump, will say on the phone, yes, to a stranger, I'll vote for Donald Trump, yet they may go into the voting booth and vote for him because they like things he says. But nonetheless, is at 15 points in Wisconsin. If that poll is right, you know, Donald Trump's in big trouble there, and he needs to do a lot of politicking out there.
Yeah, Virginia, Florida, too. I believe there are two swing state polls. Hillary Clinton coming out. There's a Monmouth poll that shows that she's the one that is certainly leading there. But you think about the union mentality. They have lost a lot of jobs due to what they would argue are trade deals gone bad. Why in Wisconsin, which is certainly a union state, wouldn't they then give Donald Trump a second look?
Well, except that they have a Republican governor. Remember, Governor Scott Walker went into office saying he's going to create all these jobs, and that's one of the things that has dogged him in all these recounts is the fact that the number of jobs did. Now, the job situation has improved in Wisconsin, so that would certainly help Donald Trump. But unless you get your message out to the people and it's a convincing one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good your message is if nobody knows about it or if your policies aren't particularly strong and convincing to the people. So Donald Trump, he's going to have to hit the pavement a little bit harder if he wants to convince these people that he's the one to vote for.
We'll see. We'll see. And so far, it's been a couple of hours, certainly beyond 24, that he has given his speech, and we will see if he can stay on track there. Greta, thank you very much.
Thank you.